to day 2 of the 12 days of page turners. And like I promised, I have 4 more amazing and talented authors here that are offering holiday specials. But before we get started, it is Rox Berkey's birthday. So happy birthday. I love birthdays. Birthdays are big in my household. So I'm so excited.
Happy birthday, Rox.
Thanks.
Happy birthday. Well, you guys, that's enough chit chat for me. Let's hear from our first authors, which is going to be Brakefield and Berkey. And we're going to bounce back and forth between the two of them. And we're going to start with Rox. So come on down. Hey, Rox, how are you?
I'm just fine, Amy. I'm so glad it's December. You know, we got past that really hot summer, and, you know, December is always such a happy time.
Oh, I'm telling you, we were, melting in the summer. We were melting, but it feels so much better. We can all breathe and we can go outside without sweating, and that makes it amazing. But tell everybody what genre you write in and the title of your book or your series.
Well, I write as a co-author with Brakefield and Berkey, and we primarily write in thrillers. And then we have been, for the last 2 years, adding a cozy mystery to our repertoire with another group of authors. It's been a really fun adventure.
I love it. So how many books total do you have, including your cozies?
So right now we have 12 books in the original Enigma series, which is behind me and now on Audible for sale off our website, which is just amazing. Then we also have the first book in the Enigma Heirs, which is our newest thriller series that came out in, I want to say, March. And then our second one in that particular series is really coming out just after the first of the year, with any luck and editing going flawlessly. And then the 2 cozy mysteries, which are part of the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles.
I love it. So for everybody, I know that you write in techno thrillers. So tell us some of the subjects that take place within the Enigma series.
That's a great question, Amy. We try to target one specific technology threat to really focus on in each book. So the first one, for example, the Enigma Factor, focused on identity theft. And then as we go through the different technologies that are very relevant, even in today's headlines, we have the Enigma Source, which is all about cryptocurrency. We have the Enigma Beyond, which is about artificial intelligence, which is something, of course, no one ever hears of anymore. And then the Enigma Wraith, which really focuses on ransomware. And that's where people get a hold of your machine and wreak havoc on you and try and steal from you. So each book has a very different threat vector that we try and get our group to defeat.
I love it. So what does our group stand for? What does the R stand for?
Really, the R has no specific meaning other than it's like the right group. It was formed shortly after or at the beginning of World War II, when 3 patriots left Poland and tried to escape the overrun of Poland by the Germans, but they wanted to strike back. And so they really had a keen eye on stealing the Enigma machine. And so they wanted to take that, and they did. They succeeded in stealing a copy and starting a whole information dynasty that has come all the way forward to contemporary times. And they've trained their family over the years to go ahead and how to defeat the bad guys, whether it's from, the late 19th, 20th century or into today.
I love that. So how did this series kind of come about? I mean, you have your techno thriller, and you have 12 of those, and then you have the kind of spin off, the Enigma Heirs, and then you have your cozy mystery. So you're a seasoned writer, you and Charles. So how long have you guys been writing, and what kind of was the pivotal point where you're like, you know what, we're gonna co-write, this whole series?
Charles and I actually started writing technical manuals because we're both technologists by profession. And writing technical manuals, the technology is changing so fast that you release a technical manual and it's like outdated right after it gets released. And Charles was getting tired of writing not only for the work that we did, but also teaming up to write technology documentation and manuals in a nonfiction manner. And I said, well, okay, let's take our technology and let's boil it down to threats and let's do fiction. And you know, it took all the way until I told him, and we can kill people, until he said, okay, count me in.
I love that, Charles. That would be me too. Do I get to kill people in my book? Okay, well, I'll do it. I'll do it. Take out my inner aggressions. I like that. I like that. I like how it evolved from writing technical manuals and everything into this whole series and everything that you guys have been doing. So what are some of the, if you have, challenges that you kind of come across together, co-authoring the book together?
Well, you know, we do everything electronically and digitally. So we outline the books, we have some collaboration, we have a lot of meetings like this where we're on video, we have a lot of meetings where we get together and just hash out what we want the threat to be. And then we honestly each take different portions of the book and write them. And then we pass them back and forth to kind of get the right feel for it. In many ways, I've always thought we have an advantage because when we're doing dialogue, you know, Charles can tell me there's no guy in the world that would ever say what I just put in that dialogue, and vice versa. I can do the same thing with him. So it ends up being a little more, I don't know, realistic. And we get to pull in all of these different things from the professional careers that we have had and the places we have gone, which really makes them a really rich read, I think. Or listen if you're doing the Audible.
See, I'm more of an Audible girl just because, you know, I have 2 young kids and I'm doing good to remember my name. So I can put an Audible book on and stuff. So I love that all of your books are featured in Audible, but you do have, as I can see on your banner, that you have an award-winning voice actor for your series. So talk to us a little bit about how that kind of came about.
You know, it was really funny. We decided we were going to do book number 1 as an audio book. And we did the whole interviewing and, you know, testing, as it were, for the voice of that particular book and selected someone to do that. And we found when we had it played back to us, it just, I don't know, it was good. And he's a very well-known narrator, but it just didn't give us the flavor we wanted. So in book 2, we went back and said, okay, let's do some more testing. It turned out, coincidentally, that Derek had just decided to come into the market to do audiobooks, and we both took one listen to his example, and it was sold. He is just phenomenal, and so he's been with us ever since. He's an amazing voice actor. He has done, I don't know, dozens upon dozens of books at this point. He's won awards for us. He's won awards for other people, and he's one of the nicest gentlemen I've ever met. He has a couple of small boys. He's wonderful.
I love it. I've seen you and Charles together, and you guys are like, you know, 2 peas in a pod, and your writing really complement each other in your series. I have every single one of your books because I'm that kind of person. I'm a groupie. I love it. I'm y'all's biggest fans. And the 12 Days of Pictures, I always get like books. It's like a big treat for me. So I love that. But you mentioned when we were talking about the R group, you're talking about like the over in Poland and all of that. But you have a book that's out of Poland, right? That kind of, does it talk more about kind of how the R group kind of came about?
You know, Amy, that's true. We do. Out of Poland is actually a historical fiction and a prequel to the entire series. So it lets the readers and the fans in on some incredible secrets about how heroic these 3 men were in trying to accomplish what they did and start an information dynasty, for lack of a better term. And they are based in Europe. They're not based in this country, though they certainly have been here and have people that work here. And it's a phenomenal thing. But our favorite character, and I'll let Charles talk about this more, our favorite character has to be Ikabod.
I love it. Well, with that, Roxanne, I'm going to switch you with Charles, but I'm going to leave you unmute so you guys can kind of still communicate together. So, Charles, tell us about Ikabod.
So Ichabod is a artificially enhanced supercomputer that is learning humor. So he's an interesting character. He's through almost all the books, and except for Out of Poland because that it predates him. So he's it's an example of how we like to poke fun at ourselves a little bit. I mean, in the technology world, uh, our favorite game is acronyms. We have acronyms for everything, you know, DNS, SMTP, yada yada yada, and so we actually pull together several. It, almost a trait within the books that we spring some acronym on unsuspectingly readers. And Ichabod actually stands for Immersive Collaborative Associative Binary Override of Deterministic Systems. So why that's quite a lot to be able to repeat on a regular basis. It's efficient to be able to just call him Ichabod.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a mouthful. That's a
Yeah,
mouthful. But okay, I like
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and you know we've created some rather unique terms that we host on our website. So if you like that kind of uh, I guess you know sidebar discussion, you know uh, poke fun at ourselves kind of a thinking. There's a whole universe of terms from the Enigma series that we have published out there, and some of them are. We had a couple of reviewers just crack up at some of the words that we've invented from a technology standpoint that really don't really mean anything, but they're fun to be able to banter about.
So on your guys' website, I believe that you guys have like a keyword kind of template that kind of breaks down the technology terms and things that you use. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know, yeah. So on the website, enigmabookseries.com, you'll find some free downloads, some technical tips and tricks to be able to help keep you safe on the internet. A lot of people have we've noticed have grown complacent in some things like passwords, for instance, and so we have a white paper out there for free that says here's some of the things that you can do, you know, rather than just put in a password, you know, like your favorite color, blue, red, you know, your birth date, you know, those are all easily guessed. So we always advocate using a passphrase and changing them up on a regular basis. Something, you know, memorable like I need rat poison to kill the neighbor because he parked his car in my yard again. So that's really hard for somebody to try and guess in it with a brute force hack. So that's the kind of thing that you know we suggest and as a way to defend yourself.
I like it. Why you gotta go tell everybody my password, Charles? Now I gotta change it. That was my password.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm just joking. I'm definitely one of those people that probably needs to up my password game
Yeah.
for sure. I definitely need to do that. But I think one of the things I want to dive in with you, because I don't think I've ever asked this question any of the times that I've talked with you guys, is how do you pick your threat for each book?
A lot of times it's just something that Rox will say, hey, what do you know about this? Or I'll say, I've got some advanced research on this technology that's really kind of cool, but it also has a dark side. And so it's you know the artificial intelligence angle, which a lot of people spend a lot of time on that currently. Cryptocurrency that's still flooding the newsways. Ransomware, you know, they're not getting all the headlines that they want, but that's okay because you know when they hit, they're now targeting hospitals and universities. So um, there are things that are top of mind. They are technologies that if they're not under wraps, if they're not guardrailed enough, then we see these attack vectors start looming. it's the stuff that I've worked on for quite a number of years, and we feel incumbent to be able to say, here's something that is a danger. And to be able to not lecture about it, but turn it into a story. Because that's some of the things that we like. We all people like. They'd rather have a story told to them for learning purposes rather than lectured. So that's kind of the dual purpose for the series. Well, one thing I didn't get mentioned were the short stories, which are backstories to the big novels for stuff that didn't quite fit in the regular books, but important characters that we've had people petition to say, what happened to this couple? Where did this guy go? Where did these people come from? That's where we got the idea with the historical fiction and the R group and its origins. And I've never really thought about what the R group stands for. We actually have some internal naming conventions that we typically don't share, but if you want to think about us, the revenge group, that's what they do. They look for, they have retribution group. It's probably a better word, because they're looking for justice, where the bad guys think you can't get me, and that's exactly where the R group likes to attack.
I love it. I like it. That's going to be my definition from now on. I like that. And you're right. We totally forgot about the short stories that you guys have written. You guys have written a lot of books. You guys are very seasoned writers, very talented writers. You've won many awards with your Enigma series that you've done. And so tell me about, and I don't know if you want to, Charles, or if Rox does, or here, I'll just unmute Rox and y'all can just talk together about what your holiday promotion is. Because on the 12 days, we all do holiday promotions and specials. So what is the Enigma series offering this year?
So, Rox, you want to go ahead and lead with that?
I do. I think the first, we have a couple, Amy, to be honest with you. So the first thing is our 3-book ebook introduction to the Enigma series. It is an ebook format. It is sold that way, but we're going to reduce the price down to $4.99 for the holiday season for people that want to get a hold of it. And in addition to that, we're going to also give away, if someone would be so kind to just send an email to authors@enigmaseries.com. We'd like to give away 2 Enigma Tracer, which is book 1 of the new series, Enigma Heirs, and then 2 of the Killer Enigma, which is the most recent for us in the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles. And Charles, was there anything else that I missed?
I thought we talked about perhaps the Audible. We're quite proud of the last one. That was well, we're proud of all of them, but we'd like to be able to give away 2 of the Audibles for the Enigma Tracer. That's the freshest piece of work we've got. And just so you know, Amy, we always whenever we take and we send the manuscript to Derek Scholes, and he basically goes through it, and he'll send us chapters that one right after the other. It's like popcorn night. I mean, like Yahoo! I can't wait to listen to him, because it's the media is so different than reading it. Here we are. We've written the stuff, we've hammered it, we've massaged it, we've batted it back and forth and edited, and then here's a guy with enough talent to be able to have us excited to be able to hear our stuff in an audible format. So we're quite pleased with the output of that he does, and we'd like to have 2 of those on the table for people that say, yeah, count me in for that.
Wow, bunch of goodies coming from the Enigma series. I love it. It's a happy holidays special right there. I love it. Well, you guys, thanks for taking time out of your evening and hang out with us and talk on the 12 days about your holiday special. It's always so much fun when I get to talk with you guys, Breakfield and Berkey.
Yeah, but that's to Rox's point. I mean, it's when we got out of the heat season, I'm nice and toasty right now because I've got my heated headset to be able to keep me warm during this cold winter months. So, um, um, count us in whenever you want to do this, no matter how cold it is, because my ears are warm.
And Amy, as an unbirthday gift to the other authors that are joining us on here, we're gonna gift to them a copy of hot chocolate.
Ooh, I love that.
Special.
Keep
so
everybody
Diane and David
warm.
will be coming your way in time for Christmas.
I love it. I love it. Well, you guys, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us on the 12 Days of Page Turners. It's always so much fun to get to talk with you guys.
Thank you, Amy, for inviting us.
Absolutely. So coming up next, David. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm doing great. And how are you this fine morning? Getting ready for Christmas?
You know what? I am. You know that I am. But David, for everyone that doesn't know, tell everybody what genre you write in and what the name of your series is.
Well, I write historical fiction. And I like to always say it's accurate historical fiction because it's based on a true story of my family.
I love it. So how many books do you have?
Well, we've got 5. You can see them lined up back behind my friend, old Jack the Nutcracker here. What do you think of my Jack the Nutcracker with me this morning?
I love it. I think that is as tall as I am, David. I'm pretty sure.
I couldn't get Becca to cooperate. She's just laying on the floor beside me in my lab. So I just stuck old Jack up there to have somebody sitting with me.
Oh, well, that's okay. We know Becca's there in spirit, even though we can't see her, though I would love to see her. I've only seen her once, David. There's something wrong with that. I'm a dog person, so there's something wrong with that.
We'll have to get our dogs together sometime soon.
Oh, absolutely. So, David, tell us a little bit about the Westward Sagas and kind of how it originated.
Well, the Westward Sagas is the story of starts out with my 4 great-grandfather. I found out when I wanted to join the Sons of the American Revolution, I had to research him, and I found out that he was heavily involved in the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, and that's in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I wrote that story and named it the Spring House because he had to sequester his family in the Spring House when the battle started with General Cornwallis. I mean, it's a true story. That one is very factual. And that was my first book. And then the family moved away from there and started heading west. And that's when I decided to call this series the Westward Sagas.
I love it. So your books seem to kind of go on that journey west with your family, right? So
yes,
what
100-year journey to Texas.
Oh, I love it. Well, I mean, who doesn't want to be in Texas, besides the fact that our summers pretty much stay around year round, but we're all melting down here.
We don't have to worry about snowshoes down here.
No, I know. And then if a snow flurry comes down, the whole state closes down. It's one of the benefits. I always say it's one of the benefits. We don't have to have the snow and we still get the snow day. I'm here for that.
You get an extra holiday. The kids are lucky. The kids are lucky.
Exactly. But take us on this 100-year journey coming to Texas through your book. So what is book 2 about?
The first 3 books work, their families are generational families. We go through several name changes in the family as they marry and move on, and end up in Texas in 1836, when just shortly after the Texas Revolution, and they moved into Austin, Texas, which wasn't even Austin back in those days. They didn't really have a name for it. Some claim it was Waterloo, but that's kind of an Easter Bunny story that I won't get into, but it didn't really have a name, but they found it as a state capital. And they got very involved in politics. And basically it cost my 4 great-grandfather his life. He was killed by the Indians, and his oldest son was killed by the Indians. And little 9-year-old Fayette was captured by the Indians, and it made this book, the next book, Comanche Trace, the first in the what I call the Texas series, is about Will, his uncle, going after him all the way alone into the Indian nation, Comancheria, to try and bring Fayette back. And he eventually gets him back. He didn't find him himself, but he eventually was able to get him back. And it's quite a story. It's quite a story. And Will continues on. He gets involved in the Mexican-American War and ends up being appointed as the first governor, and not governor, I'm sorry about that, sheriff of Starr County, down on the Mexican border, where Rio Grande City is today. And that turns into quite an adventure for Will, and quite a story, a couple of love stories in there, and a lot of action, and a very true story about how Texas became. This map behind me was how Texas looked before the Mexican-American War. And this book tells the story of how Texas lost all that land that you see that goes up to Wyoming. And by the way, that's one of my Christmas gifts this year to my book buyers.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So what kind of research went into, writing this 100-year kind of journey to Texas? And I know that you have to, I'm sure you did more than just ancestry to see your family history and where all they came. So what was your process like for that?
Well, as you know, I do a talk with genealogical societies around the country about digging deeper for your roots, rather than just find out, my 3 great-granddad, he lived here at a certain age and he died, and one thing and another. I really get into the story of what they did. And it takes a lot of going into the courthouses. You're not going to get the kind of stuff that I need to write a book. You're not going to get that off ancestry.com. You're going to have to go dig and find the letters. Like one letter I found that Sam Houston wrote his wife that detailed in great detail the story of Fayette Smith being captured by the Indians. And that's one of the ways I was able to tell the story about, the events, what really happened on Shoal Creek in Austin, Texas, on January the 21st of 1841. It's a great story.
So how do you dig deep for that? I'm sorry. I know that's probably a silly question, but for someone that likes history and doing all of that, right? I know ancestry is not like, going to tell me all these things. So how would you find all these information? Where did you go?
I was very fortunate that my family that I wrote this series about were so involved in politics. My 4 great-grandfather was the first treasurer of Travis County, Texas, when it was founded in 1840. So the first 7 months of volume 1 of the history of the meetings of the commissioners, or that back then they called them county boards, but their first meetings were written in his hand. His son, and I've always thought this was really interesting, his son was a county judge, which back in those days they called him the Supreme Court Justice. Had nothing to do with trials or anything like that, but he was the chief executive officer of the county. And you think about the chief officer of the county and his father being the treasurer, there's a little bit of conflict of interest there, but Texas didn't have any money. The county didn't have any money because they had yet to ever collect any taxes. They had just been formed. So there wasn't any money that anybody could abscond with. So I guess it was not a big issue back in those days. But because they wrote so much and letters and stuff, that when I went to Austin to the archives and had asked them to pull up all the records that they had of earliest days, they rolled in several boxes of of stuff. And I just went through them one receipt at a time. And I found one receipt where my great grandmother, who was the first child born in Austin, where her daddy had made a desk for Marabou Lamar, right? Not a desk, but actually a table. And it turned out to be the cabinet table that was put in the first Capitol there in Austin. And so these things you find by accident, but they're there. You have to go to the archives. I spent days. They got so tired. I knew the janitor and everybody by first name there at the Austin History Center, and there was just tons of information, and it's there, but you got to dig for it. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot more fun than writing about it. It's finding those little tidbits of information, like that letter that Sam Houston wrote to his wife about the abduction of that little boy. And people ask, well, how do you know the Indian tribe that captured him were Comanches, Comancheros, and they were pretty pretty upset about the Anglos coming into to Austin and taking over their town. That was their happy hunting grounds in the winter time. They came down from Comancheria, which is Indian territory, which would be what we call West Texas today and eastern New Mexico. And they came into Austin. Buffalo roamed. It was great hunting. And then Mayor Lamar decides he wants to make Austin his new capital. So changed things for the Indians, and they were quite upset about it. So my great-grandfather, he was killed by Indians and scalped, mutilated, and so was his son, but at separate times. And the 9-year-old was abducted. It took 2 or 3 years. It took back to 1843 before they got him back to Texas. He was abducted in 1841. So he had a pretty harrowing experience with the Indians. And he came back to live to tell the story about it. And fortunately, he did an interview with a Texas historian that was public record, and that really helped me dig up. But it gave me hints to other things, and I found out about some of the people that were involved. And I went and researched who were not part of the family at all, but just neighbors. And amazingly enough, I found correspondence that they had about the abduction, and there were eyewitness to the abduction too, also. So there's a lot there, but I had to really dig for it. My family never knew about it till I started digging into it. We just knew that this little boy had been kidnapped. We didn't know the details.
Wow. Well, so it's fair to say that doing the digging is your most favorite part. Besides, the writing about it's like a bonus, but the digging to kind of find the history is your favorite part. So what story, did you find that just not necessarily has to be your favorite, but is kind of your favorite to tell?
Well, I like to tell the stories about my research. Mm-hmm. I tell you, when I was in Jonesboro, Tennessee, researching the family there that eventually came to Texas, I got permission to go into the vault in Jonesboro, Tennessee. This was back in about 1997. And I went down in the vault, and they told me just help myself, take pictures of whatever you want. And the family, the deeds and things like that were there, and just found all kinds of things. And I got so involved in the work that suddenly I didn't realize I started getting hungry, and I realized I'd had a good breakfast, but I hadn't had lunch, and I was really getting hungry. And I started coming out of that vault in the basement of the Washington County Courthouse there in Jonesboro, Tennessee. And I got up the stairs and I looked out, and it was getting dark. and there was nobody there. I was in this courthouse all by myself. And back in those days, they still had phones that when somebody would ring, I started looking, the doors were locked. I tried to push on a couple of them, and the way they had them chained from the inside, there was no way I could get out. So I saw one of those lights on the phone come on, and I just picked it up. I said, hello. He says, is this the courthouse? And I said, yes. And they said, who are you? And I said, I'm somebody that's locked in the courthouse and I can't get out. Well, that made quite a story. And the sheriff came over. A small town, there's only 800 people in the whole community. Came over, and he was about as embarrassed as I was. And he says, how did this happen? I told him the story. So I think that was a hoot, but I've had lots of those stories that I can tell. And I find that in the research and doing this work, you just never know what you're going to get into. And you have to be ready for surprises.
I love it. I love it. Well, David, what is next for you? What's coming up? Are you going to do a book? Is it 5 or 6 of your Westward Sagas? Or
well, we have 5 out. You know, we introduced last year. Well, actually, it's this year. We introduced the Sheriff of Starr County, and that was the 5th book in the series. I'm writing a 6th book right now that is really not going to be a part of the series. It's going to be a nonfiction book that's about the stuff that we're just talking about that I encountered in my research. And it's going to be, I think, kind of an interesting book of just the question that you asked, some of the stories that happened to me during this process of writing this series. And this series has 2 more books. There'll be a 6th and a 7th that's kind of going around up here, has been for some time. So as I'm writing, usually like book 5, I'm kind of in my mind thinking about book 6 in the series. But my next work will be a nonfiction book with a lot of photographs of documents and different things that I found. The letter of Sam Houston to his wife, Margaret Lee, that he wrote on January the 22nd of 1841. 1841. And it's, you know, it's amazing to me. I can remember those dates about history, and I can't remember my phone number.
Hey, I'm doing good to remember my name.
Yes.
I am. Well, David, tell everybody what you're offering this holiday season.
Well, I tell you what, I got into this map thing over here. This map that you see right over my noggin is a map that helped me on the last 2 books immensely about Texas, because you see it was about Texas and New Mexico, and they took that boy up into that area, which now is New Mexico, and up into that area, Colorado. And people don't, understand. You'll find a document and prior to 1850, and it'll be talking about over in New Mexico, which was Texas at that time. And people don't understand how the map changed. And I befriended this gentleman that made this map. I knew him back from when we had the sesquicentennial in Texas in 1986, and he and 3 artists, different type. Each of them had their own thing. He was a cartographer, and he had an artist or 2. And that map is printed on 65-pound paper, and it's printed on a big press. And they printed it the old-fashioned way. It's not digitally done. It was done on one of these old presses that you had to, one at a time, pull down. And my friend John Davis is dead now, but his wife, I found his wife, and I said, "Do you have some of those maps?" And she says, "I certainly do, and I have no use for them, and I'll make you a good deal on them." and I bought them, and I'm buying 2 other editions. But for Christmas, this thing now, it's a really collector's map, and it is great for a classroom or children that you want to teach them about the history of Texas, and it's all there. And you'll learn about the Compromise of 1850, where the United States government paid them $10 million for 97 million acres, 97 million acres. And that land went all the way up to the 42nd parallel, which is the Wyoming border. And that's how, when that was carved out to make New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and such, that's how Texas got the shape that it's in today. And I like to tell that story about how Texas got its shape. So the map, and somebody buys my whole set of books, because I like them to buy the whole set so they can get the whole story. The whole story, and when they read from book 1 to book 5 at the end, they will understand American history and how the greatest real estate venture it ever was took place, going all the way to California. And eventually the last 2 books will take in the gold rush in California and the California statehood. And that will be where it goes. But if they buy the 5 books that I have now at the regular price, which is, I think they're $19.90, it all comes to around $99 or something like that. For $100, I sell what I call a whole kit and caboodle. That's my 5 books and that 1845 map hanging on the wall there. And that makes a great gift. If somebody's got history people in their family, I want to make a suggestion to them. I think it's a lady, and one of my customers gave me the idea. She bought the whole thing for one individual who loved history, and she gave him the first book on his birthday. He gave him another one at Christmas, and another one on Father's Day. It just put right on, and at the very end, gave him the map. And I thought that was just, you've actually got 6 gifts for a history person that really loves history. And I think it's a fantastic gift idea.
I love it. Well, David, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to come and talk to us and tell us all about your books and your holiday promotion on the 12 Days of Page Turners.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, coming up next is Diane Bater. I just can't say your first name. It all goes together. We have to have both. Okay, we have to have both. But Diane, tell everybody what genre you write in and the title of your book.
Absolutely. I write cozy mysteries and bordering into a little bit of fantasy on the side right now. I've been editing a fantasy book. Right now, the series I'm going to focus on right now is my Gilda Wright Mysteries, because the newest one comes out in June, which seems far away, but it's really not. And in celebration of that, we are giving away the first book of the series, which is Dead Without Honor. And that's a great way for people to pick up the first book. It's free. And to get into this series.
I love it. So tell everybody a little bit about the summary of your series and what it's about.
For sure. The whole series actually started, I worked in a karate school for many years. And it was just one of those, you get mad at somebody one day and you're like, I wish I could just strangle you. And that's how the first book came about.
Oh, nice. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's probably a silly question, but I'm dying to know. Okay. So backstory before I ask this question, I took karate when I was little, and I was awful at it. And I got 3 yellow stripes because I wasn't good enough to be a yellow belt. And I think I was like 4 or 5. Okay. So we'll just play it to, it was my age. Okay. We're going to play to that. I don't remember any of that. I just have photos and the stories my mom's.
Hmm.
So, is karate really like the Karate Kid, or have we all been lied to and that's not really what it's like? Because I'm dying to know this. Because it's like the Karate Kid. I'm going to it. I'm 31. I can do it. You know, I'm going to do it.
Right. I'm going to say no. There was no waxing of cars and no painting of fences, but there are some things, like a lot of the philosophy that was in the Karate Kid, the, you know, that you don't start a fight, but you can finish it. That's the sort of mentality that we went with. And we did Goju karate, which is hard soft. So it was, you know, we did do some weapons, but it was mostly just you use your hands, you use your words. We also did, I was really fortunate to belong to a school. We did a lot of self-defense. We went to a lot of schools doing self-defense training.
Oh, okay. See, okay, so back again. Okay, we're going to come back to my previous experience just because. But I'm only 5'1" on a good day, depending on how tall I want to feel. You know, that's what that was. So I should probably learn self-defense. So I just need to connect with you so I can learn these things. Though I will say you kind of popped my bubble at the fact that we're not waxing on and waxing off cars and painting fences. Okay, like I mean that's just man, because we all enjoy doing those things in Texas when it's like 115 degrees out. That's our favorite thing to do. But what was your process like in publishing this series? Because everyone's process is different. Everyone's writing venture is different. So what was yours like?
I've had I was just writing it this morning for something else. And I always sit back and go, wow. Because when I did my very first series, I pitched it a lot. I got a lot of rejections. And I was like a lot of people, you get to the point, you're like, oh, you know what? This is never going to happen. And I ended up as part of a critique group. And one of the members of the group was like really good at giving advice and giving feedback. And I just really found her helpful. So I asked her very politely if she would read my book and give me some feedback and kind of tell me if I'm wasting my time, in her opinion, right? And she came back to me with a whole bunch of edits and said, when you're done with the edits, send it to this lady named Dawn. I'm like, okay, why would I do that? And I Googled her. She was an agent. And this woman I had asked to give me critique was a reader for this agent.
Oh, wow.
So I had my first agent before I could even figure all of this out. She helped me get my publisher in Canada, which is where I'm at. And it's very cold and snowy. Thank you very much. We'll send some your way.
Okay. Yeah.
But I got my first publisher was here in Canada. My second publisher, which was with my Gilda Wright Mysteries, was in California. And we ended up kind of hitting a point after 3 books that they decided my books just didn't work for what they wanted to do. So they gave them back. And I had about 10 minutes of, what am I going to do now? I went to my Canadian publisher and said, would you guys be interested? Like, is this something you would do? And because I was already one of their authors, we just rebranded and we relaunched the whole series +1. So
Nice.
That's not something that's going to happen with a lot of people, but it was just, my path has been kind of twisty turny. And the ironic part is now I actually work with my publisher as an associate publisher, which is very cool.
Oh, nice. I love how it's all kind of just come about, you know, for you and your writing journey. So one of the questions that I like to ask, because I'm just a curious person, my husband calls it a nosy Nancy, but I refuse to say that I'm nosy. I'm just curious about certain things, right? Are you an outliner, or do you just write random chapters when you're writing?
I am totally a pantser. I totally just go, whatever pops into my head. Sometimes it's in order. Sometimes something will inspire me and I'll have to write like a whole other chapter ahead of time and then come back to it later. But yeah, I'm one of those people, I listen to the characters or I'm inspired by whatever, and I will just go back and forth.
See, I love that, because I am one of those people that failed outlining in high school. And
Yeah,
so,
me too.
yeah, okay, you're my people. You are my people. Because I don't understand it. And I'm not saying this for all those people that outline out there. I'm envious of people that can outline successfully.
And
'Cause
stick
I
to it.
cannot.
I have done it once. It's sticking to it sometimes. That's like, no, that's not happening.
No, I'm telling you, that's why I would fail my papers in high school, which not in college, because I feel like in college it really didn't matter. But in high school it mattered because I was like, I'm trying to get like my diploma so I can move on, right? And you'd have to create your outline and then you get judged on your outline and then you write your story. Well, my story never went with my outline. It never did. I always had something else. I'm like, oh, that doesn't work. I want to go this way. And then I would fail because it didn't match my outline. So I have a strong, I guess, disdain for outlines. They're not my friends, and I don't think we'll ever be friends at all. I guess I'm not that organized of a person to do an outline successfully. I love it though, because my mind just is constantly, constantly wandering, I guess, in a sense. But everybody that has listened to the 12 Days Page Runners before, or that has known me, and all of you guys know me. I'm not a writer. You guys get my emails, like my grammar and my commas. Oh, commas are going to be death to me. I can't do that. So I live vicariously through all of you guys. I travel through all of you guys, and the world would be so boring without authors like you guys taking us off to, and fantasy worlds and creating all these worlds and, cyber threats and protecting us and learning us or leading us down the history of a family, and how Texas kind of came about, for today. But it's one of those things that I'm envious of it. I don't aspire to be like y'all. I'm okay living through y'all. Okay. I'm okay. I love it. I'm good. But what is next for you in all of your writing kind of career? What do you have in the pipeline? What's going on? What's coming up for you?
There are so many things. It's a nonstop kind of thing, right? As soon as one project's done, the next one's rolling through. As I said, the next Skill to Write mystery comes out June 2024. And following that, I actually have another book in September 2024 called Jesse James Gold. It's a book I was writing for my publisher that we're writing historical Canadian mystery series. And there is legend from way back when that everybody knows is not true, but it's a great story. That Jesse James buried gold around the Mulmer area in Ontario, which I used to live close to. So I'm like, that's a great one. I'm going to have fun with that one.
I love it. I love how just everyone has a different, to quote the wonderful Sandy Lawrence, who has always told me that there's a story behind the author, there's a story behind the story, and everyone has one, but there's always like a connecting kind of like, I guess, like a common ground I have found for all authors. And that's the inspiration or the idea that sparked their writing kind of journey. So what was that inspiration for you? Because you write, in multiple genres is how I'm going to kind of label it. So what was that inspiration for you that really got you to write and push to publish your book?
I'm one of those people, I've always been a writer from, when I was little. Like, I still have stories from junior high that I wrote that, I look back and go, ooh, that's, yeah. But for me, it was actually entering a murder mystery writing contest. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it for fun, not expect anything. I won. And that was my first novella that was published, which I'm going to republish eventually. I just, getting around to that. But it set me on the path going, I can write a mystery. And that's where I started focusing my energies. And that's when I started getting involved with this critique group. And all of a sudden I've got an agent and then a publisher and then another publisher. And then now I'm sitting back going, okay, I've got this wonderful publisher I'm working with, as well as I'm trying to do a bit of a hybrid thing because I have been helping a few people publish their own books. So I've been dabbling a little bit in the self-publishing arena as well as with the publishing company itself.
Nice. So it's just kind of really evolved from that moment of having it published to, where you are today. And it's just, it seems rather rapidly, but it's all just kind of evolved into what it is today. And it's still evolving. You still have more to come and more of, the exciting journey and helping others get published, which is pretty awesome. I love that. Anyone here knows I love indie small press authors are my jam because I love them. I feel like they don't get enough credit as they should. So it's definitely a sweet spot in my heart. And so I love to hear that all those things are happening. But tell us about your holiday promotion. I know you kind of mentioned it at the beginning, but tell us again.
It's a freebie for everybody. So you can find the ebook of Dead Without Honor, and it is absolutely everywhere you can buy ebooks. Everywhere you buy it, you can get it for free, and it will start you on the journey to meet Gilda Wright and all of her cohorts at the Phoenix Martial Arts School, which starts off with a different name in the first book, but later is evolved. So, and trust me, I know what happens to it. So,
okay. Do you leave? Here's my last question that I'm going to leave off on, because it's one of these things that I've encountered. Do you leave off on cliffhangers between your books?
not normally.
Okay.
Yeah, normally I try to tie a lot of things up. Relationship-wise is a whole other story, because there are these little relationships woven through the mystery stories. That one kind of continues and continues as the characters grow.
Now you can't do that to me. You can't leave me on relationship like cliffhangers. I can't handle it. I am a very impatient person, and I cannot handle it. I get stressed, and then I get all mad, and I'm like, well, now I need to know what's going to happen. Like I can't handle it. I can't emotionally, but I love it. I love for authors to do that, because you have people like me that's just like, well, when's the next book coming out? And then we're all mad that it's not like instantly out there, and then we're all like harassing you. Not that authors should be harassed. I'm not encouraging that, but I'm saying that's what I do. I'm like, I want to know. I'm dying to know, so let me know. But I love that. Well, Diane, thanks for taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with us on the 12 Days of Page Turners. It's always so much fun to get to hang out and talk with you, and especially for your holiday promotion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is always a fun thing to do every year, and I think this is my second year, and I'm just loving it. So
well, good. Look, holiday season. You guys are gonna make me blush. Stop it. Well, you guys, this completes day 2 of the 12 Days of Page Turners. Make sure that you take advantage of everybody's holiday promotion, especially the ones tonight. I've already got my goodies, because the 12 days is really where I rack up on all of my reading going into the new year. But make sure that you take advantage. They're in the copy ahead and the comment section. And until tomorrow, we're going to have 4 new authors, new genres, new holiday promotions. So until